All right, you should have filled in the blanks with these. Let's see if you got it right. So the first one is Abraham Lincoln became president. He wants to get rid of slavery. He doesn't like slavery, wants to get rid of it. People want to keep their slaves and start a civil war. Remember, those people in the South did not like that he was taking away their slaves, so they started a war over it. That is craziness. Slaves are finally given their freedom. The war was ended. The people in the North won. So it means people in the South had to give up their slaves, had to get their freedom. Even though they had their freedom, they still live a hard life and are being treated horribly. So now let's move on to a little bit more recent times. So the first guy we're going to talk about is Jackie Robinson. And as you can see, he is a baseball player. So in 1947, this is about 80 years ago, Jackie Robinson is the first black man to play in a major league baseball team. So like the baseball that you see on TV, those are the major leagues, the best of the best baseball players. He was the first black man to be able to play. Now, you might see his face. He looks happy, looks excited, but I promise you it was not easy for him the whole time. People refused to go to their games. Even his teammates didn't like him. The other teams that tried to play them, the pitchers, the guys that would throw the ball for him to hit would try to hit him with the ball. It's just all really, really sad. But he ended up his first year, which is called your rookie year in baseball, ended up getting rookie of the year. So out of all of the men that were brand new to the Major League Baseball teams, he was the best player that year. So amazing. I love this guy. There's a really good movie about him. So in 1955, so these are where a lot of the black people, the black history that we hear about in school. This lady, you probably recognize her name, is Rosa Parks. So in 1955, which was 66 years ago, so a lot of your grandparents or great grandparents probably lived through this. Miss Acton's mom was just barely born around this time, but she said that she really didn't remember it, but remembered hearing about it when she got older. Rosa Parks was sitting on a bus when a white man told her to get up so he could have the seat. She said no, and they threw her in jail. And this is a picture of them getting her fingerprints and getting ready to throw her into jail because she wouldn't get up for a white man. How sad is that? But like I was telling you on the few slides before this or in the video before this, that they made these laws that kept white people and black people from being able to sit in the same spot in the bus, being able to use the same restrooms, drink out of the same water fountains. It's all really, really sad. And Rosa decided she had enough of it and she got thrown in jail. How sad. So you guys definitely know this guy. So this is Martin Luther King Jr. So the same year, 1955, 60 years ago, Martin Luther King Jr. boycotts the buses, the same buses that made Rosa Parks get out of her seat for that white man and then threw her in jail because she wouldn't. He boycotted those buses to stop the unkind treatment of black people that were riding on the buses. So boycott is just when you refuse to do it. So every time you get on a bus, you have to pay money. Not a lot of money. It's usually like 10, 25 cents. They had to do that back then when there was no people riding the buses, when most of the people riding the buses were black people, and those black people boycotted the buses. They stopped riding the buses. The bus companies started running out of money. They couldn't pay their drivers anything. They couldn't afford to put the gas into the engine so the buses would go. And they eventually had to give in and give all of their same rights to black people as white people. So basically, if you were the first one on the bus, you got to choose whatever seat you wanted, and it didn't matter how many white people got on that bus, you get to keep your seat. So Martin Luther King Jr. doing some good stuff. All right, so next we have Ruby Bridges in 1960. She's the first black child to go to an all-white school. It was so dangerous for her. So dangerous for her. This little bitty 5-year-old black girl going in this building with all these white people. She was the first one. It was so dangerous for her that she had to have special police officers walk her in and out of the building every day. And this picture shows that. So there's little bitty Ruby walking out of her school. She's got her little briefcase where she's got her schoolwork. And these are special police officers called marshals, I think is what they're called. They had to leave and protect her from people that might be standing outside of the school ready to yell things at her, throw things at her, or possibly even hurt her. Really, really sad. And I love this slide. So this is Ruby Bridges today. She's 66 years old today, and she looks fantastic. And I believe she actually ended up being a teacher for a little bit, is what I read. She's got kiddos and happily married, and I think that experience made her an all better person. But so sad, me thinking about how there had to be police officers walking with this tiny little girl because they were scared someone was going to hurt her. That is craziness, guys, and it's all because of the color of her skin. This is crazy. So in 1960, that's about 80, oh sorry, 60 years ago. About 60 years ago for Miss Ruby Bridges. All right, so then in 1964, so 4 years after this, the Civil Rights Act is passed. So the civil rights is people that want the same rights as anybody who's got any skin color. So this made any kind of discrimination. So they told you you couldn't eat in a restaurant. They told you you couldn't ride that part of the bus. They told you you couldn't get on the train. You couldn't drink out of that water fountain. You couldn't go to that restroom. All of that was considered illegal if you were doing it just because of the color of your skin. But it also went from if they did it because you were a woman and didn't want you to ride the bus, they did it because of your religion. If they didn't like your beliefs and they didn't let you ride the bus, all of those things, it became illegal to discriminate against people because of all of those things. But the main thing was because of the color of their skin when it came to black people. That was probably the biggest one. And then 1968, so this is about 53 years ago. 53 years ago. So most of your all's grandparents, grandma and grandpa's probably he lived through this. They were probably alive when this happened. Martin Luther King Jr. is shot and killed. And he's shot and killed because he fought for equal rights for black people. He wanted black people to be treated just like anybody else, just like white people, any skin color. We all should be treated the same. And because he wanted to spread this love and this joy and this equality, he got shot. It was really, really sad. All right, so now I have a really important question for you that you're going to be filling out. I really want you to think about this, really dig deep to how you're feeling right now. So, how does this information make you feel? Think about the slavery that we talked about at the very beginning when we went and took these African Americans, took these Africans away from Africa, made them come work in our fields and just really, really sad conditions. Think about Ruby Bridges and how she was just a little girl and how she had to have police protect her. Think about how black people weren't allowed to use the same water fountains as white people. Think about how several people died in this. Even white people died in this just because they wanted to help black people, people of color out. So think about all the information that you just went through and how does it make you feel? Tell me how it makes you feel right here. And then why do you feel that way? Tell me how what are those feelings that you have in your heart and why do you feel that way? Give me a reason why you feel that way and type that down on the bottom line for me.